Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of Taking Your Hot Seat Challenge, and my guest today is Dr. Larissa Chuprina. Am I saying that correctly?
Correctly.
Thank you for being with us today. For those who are seeing us for the first time, welcome. For those who are coming back, thank you very much. And for those of you who are new to us, the whole session here is how to discover your secret sauce. And people say, what the hoot is that? Well, my tagline is, I don't claim that I see dead people, but I will help you discover a unique value about yourself that you probably don't know about, that gives you a unique advantage over your competition. And I call that your secret sauce. Why secret? Well, most people don't know they have unique value, much less how to find it. And anybody can overtalk what you do. You repair overhead garage doors. Somebody else, of course, does it better. But there's only one Dr. Larissa Chuprina, based on her background, her education, her struggles, her successes. Nobody can overtalk that. And for those who like her sauce flavor, I call it, will more likely choose her over the competition, everything else out there being normal. And I begin, this is a 30-minute session. I begin by asking Dr. Larissa, what's her favorite pastime? And I do that deliberately because that goes to her passion. And her passion goes to who she is, nothing about what she does. And then I spend the last portion of this 30-minute session talking about her business. And my purpose here, my challenge is really my challenge than hers, is to share with her and the audience how Dr. Larissa brings a unique value on your behalf that nobody else can lay claim to. So enough of that. Let's get started. So Dr. Larissa, what is your favorite pastime? Excuse me. I'm going to interrupt. One other note. You'll see me looking down a lot. It's not because I'm going sleep or getting bored. I keep a note of what, and it's a blank sheet of paper right now, of what we're talking about. And I'll refer back to the notes as I connect the dots in the latter portion of this dialogue. So again, for the interruption, I'm sorry, Dr. Larissa, but again, what's your favorite pastime?
It is difficult to say just one thing because I like the variety.
Okay, let me backtrack. I hear that. So let's say when you were 6 years of age, what was your favorite endeavor? Assuming you had one by then.
Dancing.
Dancing?
Yes, I wanted to be a ballerina.
Why is that?
Probably I learn and feel alive when I'm moving.
Okay. Well, how were you introduced to ballerina dance? If I'm saying that correctly, what was your introduction?
I was able to attend some live performances
Okay.
at the early age. And also at the famous ballerina,
right,
Maria Plisetskaya, who was my model.
Okay.
And
now is it the art of it, the beauty of it, the flow of it, anything in particular that grabbed you about the art form of being a ballerina, the dancing?
Yes, I believe it is one of the most expressive way of who you are.
Okay.
And I'm still dancing. I belong to some dance groups and learn different types of dancing. But
right.
Most recently, it's more Latin dancing.
Okay. Now, what is about Latin dancing? Now, Latin dancing is a little bit different than ballerina dancing. You're not on your tippy toes with Latin dancing, I'm assuming. What is that you like about that?
Latin dancing allowed to connect with people on personal level, and it's very expressive, beautiful, and I would say sensual, and this is what I like.
Right. And how often do you go to the sessions?
Twice a week or once a week for sure.
Interesting. Now, some people dance on a regular basis, of course, for different reasons. Some do it for the social connectivity. Some do it for the exercise. Some do it to keep the circulation going. Some do it because it's just a lot of fun. And I hate the word simply just a lot of fun. Do any of those work for you, or all of those? Do you have a certain focus one way or the other?
That is the beauty, because it is all of it.
Okay.
It allows to connect with people of the same interests
Right.
and keep in touch with friends with whom I dance, but also feel alive and always in a good, in, to be fit also
Okay.
and beautiful.
I hear that.
Mhm.
Again, folks, I'm making notes. That's why I'm looking
Mhm.
down. So the concept of it is you say your favorite pastime is dancing. You do it on a regular basis. You
Yes.
say a lot of things you're involved in. Could you give me a choice number two in terms of favorite pastime?
Being with nature. And
Okay.
I do hiking. I go hiking, skiing. It's mountain skiing, downhill skiing,
Right.
camping. Or every day I go to watch sunset.
Ah,
It gives me energy and also the opportunity to appreciate the beauty around. Yes. So this is how I refill my cup.
I like that. And again, making notes. You say a lot of things, which is complimentary, and I'm a slow writer, so I apologize for that. It's it seems as though, and you use recurrent nature, the concept of beauty. Um, Let me backtrack. When you talk about nature, when you go hiking, now I'm an indoor persona, although as a biology major, so I appreciate Mother Nature and the beauty of it, the flavor of it. I go walking, I call it not hiking, not because I need the exercise and I exhilarate on the backpack and whatnot. I like to observe. In fact, I'll take a camera with me so I can look at things and create something of taking pictures of. And it's not about me, we're talking here. In terms of you hiking, you mentioned fresh air. I think you imply exercising. When you hike, do you do it with somebody else normally or by yourself primarily?
No, usually with the group or another person, a
Okay.
friend. And it is again to connect on deeper level
Mm-hmm.
and to share the beauty around. It's
Right.
so. I found out during the time when it was everything shut down.
Right.
I started a project, being happy, and every day I tried to learn something different,
Okay.
and documented it, and I called it my happiness project.
I'm sorry, you call it your what again?
Happiness project.
Happiness Project.
And it made sense only when I could share it with other people.
Right.
So the enjoyment of sharing, it's probably my best enjoyment when I share my joy.
I hear that. And I get the concept of it because you may
Mhm,
have your intrinsic sense of
mhm.
value, but it's nice to get reflection back on that value through people that you share with.
Yes, then
I'm
it is.
assuming that.
Yeah, then it multiplies.
Okay.
Happiness multiplies.
Now, folks, one of the things I do in my description for the half an hour session, I'll say we'll spend normally the first 20 minutes talking about her favorite pastime, and then we'll spend the last 10 minutes, final 10 minutes, talking about her business. I'm inclined to move in that transition a little bit earlier because you've said, I think, quite a bit in the relatively not even 10 minutes of dialogue yet. So I'm going to ask more questions because I want more dots, need more dots to connect here. So we mentioned dancing. We mentioned hiking, being outdoors. Let me backtrack. Ballerina dancing. I see a mixture or opposition. Some ballerinas dance by themselves or with a partner, always, I guess. Or some will dance as a group dance. Do you have a preference on that one way or the other, or did it make a difference for you one way or the other?
It can be combination of everything.
Okay.
Sometimes I would like to lead,
Mm-hmm.
but very often, in the majority of cases, I really appreciate a partner beside me,
Okay.
and it also connection to the community.
I understand.
And this is how in life also in business.
Okay. I hear that. And we'll get to that in a little bit. And I thank you for that self-observation. So we mentioned dancing, we mentioned being outdoors. So I get a sense you're not necessarily a camera buff. When you do go walking, do you have an agenda of how much distance to go to, or is it how much time you spend walking, or at some point, now it's time to go back? Do you have a flavor to that, or is it kind of spontaneous?
I plan usually.
Okay,
That's why it includes some logistics and communicating with others, what to
right,
take, and how much I need to be prepared.
right.
However, it's not about how many miles.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about experience and how I feel, and
Okay.
always expectations for the best results, to enjoy the surrounding, to enjoy company, and just to come to self, to higher self.
I hear that, and I appreciate that. Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to now flow you into. Oh,
Mhm.
I have to do commercial break. Sorry for this. This is a business, folks, more than a social concept. And I say that tongue in cheek because they say in the industry it really is about social connectivity. What do they say? If they know, like, and trust you, they're more inclined to do business with you. So if you make a connection with somebody on a personal, humanistic level, I think you're much more inclined to generate business for yourself. Having said that, this is an invite again for you to share with us, not just for yourself, but please remember to subscribe. Attached to this video, this podcast, are links that you can contact Dr. Larissa with, the links you can contact to me about. We do ask that you make comments, good or bad, either way. We do audit and we try to respond on every comment that we come across. If you have questions, either for the doctor or myself, please feel free to connect with us directly. And I do ask for those who are looking at us to remember to subscribe to my GNL service, your Hot Seat Challenge, so you can keep on top of things going on, and share us to your friends, not amongst yourselves only. So having said that, again, the concept is we begin by asking what's Doctor's favorite pastime. She shared that with us. So what we're going to do now is to flow into the concept of what she does. And the question to you was, or is, Doctor, how did you get in the path to where you are now? What took you there? What grabbed you, or what directed you?
Are you asking me now?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Can you?
Sure. Well, the question is, we'll talk about what you do in a little bit, but before we talk about what you do, I'd like to know how you discovered your current path. Did you get zapped by lightning one day, or you went in the dictionary and figured it out, or what got you to where you are now? I see you're a doctor, so you're a Ph.D., yes?
Yes, and it is in educational psychology.
Mm-hmm. What drew you to
However,
that? What drew you to that endeavor?
the whole life experience, living in 5 countries and being multicultural and multilingual,
Mm-hmm.
brought me to the place where I can help others who are in transition from one culture to another,
Mm-hmm.
to help to learn also about themselves and to choose the path they want to take with a new language in a new culture.
I hear that. Now, the question I have for you, though, when you first entered into this particular major of schooling, was this your initial thought, or was there something about the intrigue of the degree itself that captivated you? Because you're talking just now as though it's kind of after the fact, but I'm not sure if before the fact you had a clear sense of what you wanted to do with your degree. So when you decided your major, was there processing that you went through to get you to where you are now?
At the age of 10, I realized that I like to teach. And
Okay.
I said I would be a teacher.
Okay.
At the age of 6, I realized that I like different languages and cultures, because by the age of 6, I already lived in 3 countries.
Okay.
My father was an interpreter.
Right.
I was born in Germany,
Okay.
but grew up in Ukraine. And we lived also on the border with Poland.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how intersection of languages and
Right.
also the passion for share what I know with others brought me
Right.
to the path for teaching English as as a foreign language. And
Right.
I got a degree in linguistics,
Like,
and
I'm going to interrupt a little bit. So, for those that may not know the mnemonics, I guess I'm saying that correctly. The ESL is English as a second language
yes,
acronym.
yes, but EFL, English is a foreign language because when it is taught in another country,
Mm-hmm.
not in the country when it is in
I
the
get
main
that.
language, it's called English for.
In a generic sense, I get that concept, but I wanted to make that clarity for those
Mhm,
that may not have understood what it meant, the ESL wording.
mhm.
And the culture coach, that is intriguing. I've never quite heard that phrase before. I get it from what you're saying, but in your mind, what does culture coach mean?
Mhm. Uh, but finishing first how I came to educational psychology,
Fair.
I understood that just to know grammar and linguistics is not enough.
Okay.
It's more importantly is to know about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding self and understanding how brain works makes the learning process more effective. And
Right.
that's why I was interested in educational psychology
Okay.
that I added to my arsenal, or I would say toolbox.
That's
Right?
fair. That's fair.
Yes. I came to the United States as a Fulbright scholar. And at that time in Ukraine, I had already language school and educational tourism
Mm-hmm.
that allowed me to do what I like the most. It was learning about different cultures and traveling.
Right.
So this gave me an opportunity to learn, continue learning, and also give my students this opportunity.
Interesting.
Mhm,
Now, again, when I talk about flowing from who you are to what you
mhm,
do, and I'm really moved in this direction quicker than normal, because you really are, in my opinion, a wealth of information, no value. And let me say this differently, that many people I meet will do things in life that maybe is not quite who they are.
mhm,
Example, I liked sociology because it was a major that perhaps drew my attention. Maybe it's the easiest course. Maybe it made better sense to that person. Or engineers, maybe people who like to tinker, or architects. I could go on and on. My people like to do things. But what I'm hearing from you in terms of dots being connected, you talk about your history of many, many multifaceted stepping stones. And I'll say this differently, that and the things you slip in, and I say slip into dialogue, are things that most people don't do. A Fulbright scholar. I think you said at least 5 languages that you are, I'm assuming, conversant with as a concept. You lived in, was it 8 countries? I've lost track
no,
now.
5.
5 countries also, and become proficient. I think people can be a part of a country, maybe not there long enough to really become comfortable with the language. But to backtrack for an earlier time, I'm looking at my notes now. That's why I'm looking down. You were kind of born this way, in my opinion. You came across ballerina as part of your cultural upbringing. I asked what drew you to that, and you said you feel alive. And I'm assuming you see the energy of it, you see the flow of it, maybe understand the challenge of it ultimately once you get into it, if you're going to be proficient. There's no doubt about that. And you like the issue of being very expressive, if I'm hearing you correctly. And if I get off track, let me know. And it's a way of determining who you are. And I assuming that ballerina performance are certain steps, but you will still have a uniqueness of nuanced dance that's nobody else can lay claim to. You know, how the fingers go out, maybe a certain height, a certain motion in motion. I'm assuming that's the case of how the process works. And you see it as a way of connecting with people, that you're expressing yourself, but at the same time, through that expression, you're making connection. You went into Latin dancing, and to me, that's radically different than ballerina dancing. But again, I'm not a dancer. But having said that, you still talk about the personal connection. You still talk about the beauty of the dancing itself. That I get intuitively, having seen it, maybe on average, more interactively engaged, at least with a definite partner almost every time. There can be solo performances, but I think it's more partnership concept than ballerina dancing, perhaps. So you may spend a good portion based on where you are in the hierarchy dancing as a solo performer. But you seem to emphasize, I'm looking at my notes again, is that connecting with people with similar interests. I can see where dancing is a very common denominator for people. If you don't like dancing, you likely won't come to that session unless your significant other drags you there on a tug of war basis. And you appreciate collectively the beauty of what you're doing, the fun of it. What I did like as a non-dancer, I love square dancing, because you had to rely on your partner to help you get through what you had to do, where the caller is trying to muck things up for you. And the beauty of it and the challenge of it is being able to bring it together very nicely based on mutual skill, not just you and your partner, but everybody else involved in the processing.
Exactly.
And okay, and that's my interpretation. So then we go to nature. You like hiking. Now, a lot of people I know hike by themselves, and they're perfectly okay with that. But for you, it's still more collective activity. It's less than, let me take my camera and take shots. It's more interacting with somebody, sharing an experience together. And you give and downhill skiing. You don't take easy steps. If you did, you wouldn't be a Fulbright scholar, ultimately, I'll say that. So there's an undercurrent of having fun, of sharing fellowship, but doing it extremely well, no matter what you commit to. And that's the ongoing theme that I'm getting here conceptually. So, and even something as simple as camping, I didn't ask you much about that. But again, I suspect it's more with somebody else. And when you do with somebody else, that brings into the table mutual dialogue, mutual understanding, mutual appreciation, mutual value. So again, the ongoing theme is let's do it, let's enjoy it, let's have fun with it, let's be able as a common focus to share about each other, what we like, what we don't like, differences included. That's how we are as individuals. And you talk about happiness, your happiness project, I think you defined it as, that talks about sharing enjoyment.
Yes.
And it's not purely hedonistic, that there's an enjoyment itself is value. Now, but there are some people just for the sake, I hate to say just only simply for the sake of fun, but we can have fun doing what we do and still be productive, still be functional, still appreciate each other. And that's my interpretation of who you are, the person. And even then, I say even then, in addition to, this list, by the way, I may have shared with you, it was a blank page now, lots and lots of notes that I've taken from that blank page. And so we talk about the concept of, for example, walking. You do plan that. It's not a random walk and say, oh, well, let's hike for 2 hours today and then turn around and come back. I get the sense that you have a definite agenda, an itinerary perhaps of where you're going to walk. You may or may not meet the exact time frame because you don't know what's going to come up at that moment that may focus your time, effort at that particular moment. But I say all of these things without going again into it, that your current position of being a ESL and cultural coach is that you're bringing together for your audience, your market, first off, your personal history of background. Your father, I think you said, was an interpreter. You went to different countries, ultimately, assuming as a part of his job description, and you thrived on that. You took it as where many people might get lost traveling those many different times growing up, particularly, that you took the bull by the horns, I think, and got involved in it and became proficient in what you do. And it became your life's passion. So I bring this up for people who are new to this country, or maybe want to travel someplace else on a business sense, or maybe ultimately move to another environment. It's not just coming in, it's also going out. And I guess you could look at YouTubes and other things to figure out what to do. But I think if you want to connect with somebody who has a personal legacy, not just history, of allowing you to be more aware of what you do, allowing you to maximize your experience either here or elsewhere in the country she has proficiencies in, I would easily see you as the go-to person above anybody else who would claim the same type of activity, because you've kind of walked your talk. Am I far off in what I'm saying here?
No, thank you for acknowledging this and realizing this value. I would like to add that I am really passionate about awareness, what the word brings in shaping our reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's why coaching is not only for culture, but for inner dialogue and what we project into the world with the language.
Right, I understand.
So I am supporting immigrants who are learning the language, but with the language that empowers them to see, and to recognize their talent so that they can bring this talent and share with others.
I hear that. And I'm hearing it from a slightly different perspective to feed back to our audience. Many people I've met do what they do in a mechanical sense, may have great expertise in it, great skill in it. But again, for you, the connectivity, that it's not simply learning the language, it's understanding the value of the language, the syntax, the semantics, that rather than simply express yourself, and I say simply, but also define who you are in the world around you.
Exactly.
And in a manner that enhances your presence in that environment, that adds to your comfort level, because it adds to your value perspective addition to what you're doing for the moment. Am I kind of close to that or not in terms of what you do?
Yes. Can I give you a short example? For
Sure,
example,
go ahead, please.
This was the gift from my student, an adult. I work with adults mostly.
Right.
He is a very talented engineer from China,
Mm-hmm.
and he could not find a job for many years, though his wife was successfully employed by a high-tech company.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, he felt devalued, depressed, unappreciated. And then, after 5 sessions in my program, English for Success, he came to realization that he had all the values that his culture promotes, and it is resilience,
Mm-hmm.
endurance, and courage, and generosity.
Mm-hmm.
And these values really are appreciated across languages and cultures. So I believe that these higher values of humanity can bring people together across languages. And he himself even changed the whole demeanor, how he was presenting himself,
Mm-hmm.
getting into his own power of who
Right.
he was.
Okay.
And he could express what he was doing from the place of power and enjoyment, that who he was and what he can bring to the table. Within several days, he put his recording on LinkedIn, and he was hired immediately.
Fair enough. So actually, you're saying two things, but my focus certainly is not so much what he's doing, but who he is. And who he is what the value of who he is gives him that advantage to the market of looking for a heads up over the competition. Normally I ask people, do they have anything they want to take us home with? You've done that very nicely. And I thank you for sharing that example. So for those of you in the audience to respect our 30-minute time, it has zipped by much faster than I anticipated, that if you're looking for someone who will add more than a mechanical stepping stone of learning the language, but an exploratory value focus expression of who you are, thus be appreciated by that in your market, that Dr. Larissa Chuprina is the person that you really want to go to for your business. I want to thank you folks for being a part of our audience. I want to thank you again for Dr. Larissa's participation. Please remember to check her links, reach out to her with any further questions about herself. Feel free to reach out to me. Share, if you'd like to be a hot seat guest, feel free to ask more about that. And thank you for visiting us. We're going to say goodbye now. Dr. Larissa, thank you again. We'll be again talking soon.
Thank you for